Well, now we know.
I wasn't laid off. I was fired.
Ryan Clark, recently let go from ESPN, has spilled the tea. Clark was part of the recent shakeups at the network with longtime employee Carl Ravitch, along with Stephania Bell, Bart Scott, Cam Newton, and others being let go. Clark, a Super Bowl winner and team captain, said the network camouflaged his firing with, keyword here, layoffs to downplay it, and thus the media would have a mass grouping to run with, depending on whether it is video or it is articles online. Suspiciously, Clark was canned on Friday. The rest of the cuts came on Tuesday.
I get a text from our showrunner that tells me to call my boss. I call my boss in the break, tells me they're letting me go. He said this is a very awkward call. This is a hard call. I could hear how hard it was for him. And if anybody was going to call me that was anywhere on the executive level, whether low or high, he's the person I wanted to, the way he's fought for me and rode for me. And he said, our friends, jokingly, at Outkick had the story, and we're going to leak it.
Let's pause here. This matches up with Outkick's Bobby Burak, a transphobic, anti-woke, right-wing, Trump-supporting sports writer, pro-fash as well, who thinks there's a war on pretty white girls. His words: called Ryan Clark and the Breakfast Club low IQ, a blatant dog whistle, called Angel Reese Angel Smollett, and says this of the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show.
So I would reckon that over 70% of the audience last night had never heard any of Kendrick Lamar's songs. I didn't actually understand the Samuel L. Jackson part, honestly, where he was dressed like, I think, Uncle Sam. Wasn't sure. Maybe that's me. Maybe other people did. No, I just couldn't understand the songs. I didn't know any of the songs but the last one, where, like last year, what is Rihanna? I knew most of her songs, so I'm just like, don't know this one, don't know that one.
He admitted that his employer, far-right sports outlet Outkick, had the story. They emailed ESPN PR stating they were breaking the Clark story and gave them an hour. Thus, Clark was pulled off the air. Clark would mention the Kyron Lacey incident. Lacey, at 24, took his own life after a police pursuit in the state of Texas. CNN reported at the time of his death, Lacey was charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation of a vehicle after the cops said he caused a December 17th car accident in Louisiana. There was information going around mainly from Kyron Lacey's lawyer, Matthew Ory, that Clark ran with. New intel came out from the Louisiana State Police that would contradict this. Clark would then retract his previous comments and issue this statement.
I set the highest standards of fairness and, most importantly, righteousness in my work. I didn't meet that standard. But since I've spoken to Kyron's representation at length, and I've also reached out to a representative at the state police office just to have a conversation. They informed me this morning that because it's ongoing litigation, they actually can't divulge anything else. It's always important to me that I gather all factual and important information to provide the complete story. That's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. And when discussed in real time on Monday evening, I failed to do so. And for that, I apologize.
With Outkick, they smelled blood, and the damage was done. They went after Clark for his commentary and even took a very unnecessary shot at ESPN in the process. Scott Van Pelt and Pat McAfee gave similar commentary, and they would apologize for it. Outkick showed them grace, said it was the right thing to do. When Clark apologized, they did not show that same energy.
Outkick wrote an article about all the people that apologized, two very prominent faces at ESPN. And they praised them for who they were and how they brought this thing back around. And they bashed me, talked about how negative I was, and spoke about me in such a nasty way.
Clark would then claim he sent an email to Burke Magnus, along with Dave Roberts, two longtime employees at the network. He gave a warning about the dynamics of McAfee and Van Pelt apologizing, two white men being praised for it, and Clark, a black man, being shunned. Then he put the pieces of the puzzle together.
How poignant, how purposeful is it to make sure that that's the exact same publication that gets the story that I'm going to be fired? Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to praise ESPN. They're going to pump ESPN up for getting rid of the person who stands up for the community. And they're going to say that these are all the reasons why I didn't belong on TV in the first place.
Media personality Lauren LaRosa would reiterate that a source informed her Burke Magnus leaked it to Outkick. Her words, an outlet who my source alleges then celebrated and rallied conservatives to pour on support to control the narrative.
I knew I couldn't respond to disrespect, right? I knew, for lack of a better word, I couldn't be too black.
Very quickly, if you can, become a paid channel member or go to Buy Me a Coffee to support this channel. Thank you.
Even in trying to adjust to be at least more of what certain people wanted, they still fired me.
During the taping of Clark's podcast, which is called The Pivot Podcast, he got emotional, rightfully so, when he reflected on 12 years at ESPN coming to an end.
Like you asked me, like when I see people in public, like OGs and like aunties and stuff, and they tell me they proud of me, and they proud of like, and they proud of like the way I represent the community. Yeah. I wouldn't change anything. Because that means the world to me.
And yet another diabolical figure, a former NFL player in LaShawn Shady McCoy. He spoke on it too.
Everybody been fired, dude. I mean, I can't tell you how he should, vent and show his emotions. So I mean, I probably wouldn't do this right here, but I mean, this is part of his lane. He's into what's the word? Clicks, likes, that's his thing, So I don't feel like bad. I don't feel bad with the tears and all that. You know what I'm saying?
That is just absurd and also completely disrespectful. As former ESPN and Fox Sports employee Mike Hill would state in a Twitter video.
As somebody who's gone through something similar that Ryan Clark went through, you have to understand that this man was, and he felt like he was in a bit of conundrum because A, he wanted to be himself and he wanted to speak up on things that he felt like he needed to speak up on because he had the platform to do so. But B, he also knew that if he did so, that it could affect him in his job. As somebody who's been in this situation before, I can understand those emotions and I can understand those feelings because A, yes, you want to be yourself and you want to put on your own and be authentic when it comes to that and speak up on certain issues. But B, a lot of times that comes at a price. He put his heart, his soul, he put his emotions, he put in hours of time and dedication into that particular job. So it's not necessarily about him losing his job, but how he lost his job and what he feels like maybe when you're in this little back and forth with your emotions about what you could have done differently. That's where the emotions came from. And if you don't get that, then you've never been in that position before.
The sad part is Outkick is not done here. After all, they celebrated when Clinton Yates, a very good sports writer and radio host, was canned by ESPN. Now they have suggested that Monica McNutt be next on the chopping block because she is critical of Caitlin Clark and, per Burak himself, has a clear issue with white women. That is who, it seems, some of the ties are between Outkick and also potentially Burke Magnus and or others in Bristol. What they are basically saying once more through coded language is that they want black analysts to not speak about being black. They want them to speak strictly in a shut up and dribble way only about what we see between the lines when really it is bigger than that. I understand that we are going through really difficult times. I also understand that a lot of people want to have a getaway with sports. At the same time, these are fucking human beings that we're talking about here. And yes, the political nature and the political landscape does play into these athletes' stories, the coaches' stories, the billionaires who are the oligarchs and how they control a lot in sports, the broadcasters, assistant coaches, referees, the fans that go in, the fans that are shut out, taxpayers not being allowed to go into taxpayer-funded stadiums. I mean, we could go on and on and on here. But for Outkick, what they want is Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark to rule the sports world 24/7, because simply, not that they are potentially good at what they do, but because they are white women in a heavily black, percentage-wise, heavily LGBTQ plus community like league. That is what they see. And they want to drive this woke sports completely out of the question. It is damaging. And the fact that ESPN executives likely think that way, even more damaging.